hard to see. There you go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brenda Marcello. That's Michael Neislick. That's a dark sky.
Ominous looking.
Yeah. Irma's moving out. Obviously, there's no wind
Yeah, for
today.
all your weather updates, if you're not following him on Twitter, you're making a mistake.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was an aspiring weatherman.
I was at one point.
And maybe, I mean, you don't never know what the future holds.
It's too late for me.
I got an inside scoop with Hurricane Irma. I talked to her last night.
I talked to Irma, and Irma said, hey, I'm going to weaken a little bit here. Give you guys a break. So, big news day here at Auburn. Kind of expected.
Is it a big news day? I think it's a moderate news day.
I think it's a big news day that their two
day.
coaches are moving.
Just they found some nice land.
Cole, I did get it from you. The video.
Which video?
Yeah.
Are you going to share or no?
It's a video of Gus Malzahn's telling Chip Lindsey to go with trips in a formation.
Oh, yeah. That's been much talked about.
Yeah.
Much talked about.
So, Tom says didn't recognize it in the
Yeah, we were just joking about that goatee. What a terrible decision.
It was a terrible goatee.
That was not
But
great.
at least I had hair on my head at the time. Simpler times. I completely forgot. I mean, I remember hanging out with him. I didn't know he was coaching the NFL, the guy in the picture I was with. Anyway, let's talk about news. Things you guys actually talk about. So, Auburn today, Gus Malzahn today announced that Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator, is going to move from the sideline to the press box, and Herb Hand is going to move from the press box to the offensive line to better deal with his offensive line, which helped in part to allow 11 sacks against Clemson this past weekend. So that's the big news of the day. I found interesting was Gus Malzahn. I asked Gus Malzahn about why does it take you 3 to 4 weeks every year to figure out things on your offense. And he's like, yeah, we have a new quarterback, new coordinator, and he said, I think our coordinator's still learning the offense. I'm indirect quoting there.
No, Chip's learning his offense.
Chip's learning his offense.
Chip's learning his offense, which is
baffling considering
Chip's is learning
he's
his
been
own
here
offense
since
that he's
January. It's coach speak or just shouldn't have said it or trying to explain away something that shouldn't be explained away.
Freudian slip that kind of reveals more than it should.
Here's the point. Here's the thing. You get paid that much money, you shouldn't be sitting in week 3 going, I still don't understand my offense. If that's the truth. But, that's the thing. It's not likely the truth.
Well,
so,
and some more about the box, the personnel shifting. So Chip has historically been in the box. He was in the box last year, earlier in the year with Arizona State. Moved down because they had a bunch of problems at quarterback where they had a bunch of injuries. So he shifted downstairs. Herb Hand's been in the box since he's been here. Interesting just the timing of it because it gives you a change to announce, something to say, because Gus said on Sunday they were going to evaluate everything. And so now they had a substantive change to announce because what they didn't announce was, or even sort of hint that they might be considering it, was a change on the offensive line. Sounds like they're going to at least stick with the personnel here for the foreseeable future. Chip kind of said the same thing on Sunday. Now Gus said, they don't blame the players, that they really like this group. They think this group's going to improve quickly. So I thought if you're not going to announce any kind of personnel changes, this was a way to do something at least, right? To have something substantive to say we changed coming out of Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole point of that. But here's the thing. In 5 seasons, you're still trying to figure things out. It's not a good spot, but you need to make the changes because things are just really bad right now. I mean, this was the worst offensive performance of Gus Malzahn's career. A lot of us in the building back there trying to go through records to see how this ranks among all-time.
The online records don't go back far enough. I think it's 96 to know total yardage. When's it's the lowest? It's not the lowest ever. But we don't know when it's the lowest since.
Yeah, the lowest ever is 40-something yards in 1947 against I think Tulane. So it wasn't the worst, but I would say probably it's got a chance there in the modern era to maybe be the worst. It was pretty bad. But what else did we speak to Gus Malzahn today? Most of it was just offense. What did the guy do to fix it? He kept saying, listen, we're good. He kept saying we're a good football team and that the offense will improve. He said, I promise you guys that. We're going to improve on offense. The defense is good. The special teams is good, though he said they got to work on punting a little bit. But everything else seems to be in place for a good team other than the offense, which is what he controls.
The question I wanted to ask, but I didn't really know how to phrase it, I wanted to think a little bit more about it. I didn't want to sound glib, was like, we're going to be a good offense. It's like, well, when's the when? Because you said you were going to seize the moment and be a good offense at the start of the year. Now you're kind of shifting the timeline. When are you going to be a good offense? How long is it going to take for Chip to learn his offense? How long is it going to take for you to figure out this personnel? And now I know they got some injuries again, but yeah, when? When is when? When do you think when is?
And why now? When is a good time?
No, not when is a good time. When do you think they'll have it?
Start of the season.
Yeah, but no, like how long do you think legitimately? I mean, Mercer's going to kind of be kind of fool's gold in the sense that everything's going to look okay, but
unless they look bad,
right? But when do you think that they can? How much time do they need? Or how much time do you think they need?
1 week, because they don't have if they don't have things fixed by Missouri, that they could lose that game. You can't score points at Mizzou. Mizzou's going to go against Auburn's great defense. Auburn's going to lean on that defense, but you've got to get better offensively going into SEC play because anybody can beat anybody. And the offense was downright disgusting at Clemson. Now, Clemson's a great defense. We all know that, but to put up a historically low numbers against any opponent, that's not a good sign. Are we about to get run over?
Right.
We're in a very busy part of the athletics complex, so we're going to move. You know, Gus said that they can still make changes along the offensive line, but they have to figure it out in practice, which how do you do that considering the lack of practice time you get anyway, and you're going to try and test new lineups? Full
go. It sounded to me like they weren't going to make changes, at least for the foreseeable future.
Or they're hiding that they're going to make changes.
Maybe, but
because you know, big bad Mercer,
right?
They get a hint of something changing. Man, they're going to be able to adjust and beat Auburn.
I don't think so.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess, huh?
It's a big mess. It really is.
And then Gus was asked about the receivers, or he was asked about the tight end. And he's like, yeah, I'd like to get them more involved, but I'd also like to get the receivers more involved in the offense. That's not a really good place to be 2 weeks into the season, 3 weeks into the season, where you don't have your receivers involved in your offense.
Yeah, you would think the receivers would be involved every day of every
game, every
practice. Again, that goes back to, I just think, the coaches and the players lacking to, Robert says, try not to be so cynical. Robert, did you watch the game?
It's not cynical. The results were what they were.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't hide what. It was an all-time. One question I have for you. So now, Gus is Chip's going back up to the box. Do you think this is going to further make people angry and assume that Gus is calling the plays? Because now you can't even see Chip. He's going to be way upstairs. What do you think that's going to do for the play calling controversy?
Gus is going to be able to easily override him.
Yeah.
Which is already happening. I mean, Gus is overriding.
There's the AL.com crew sneaking.
Look at them sneaking up behind us, ruining our shot, just ruining it. Move to Birmingham. West is moving to Birmingham. We're gonna miss them. So anyway, yeah, I just don't know what that exactly is going to accomplish, other than maybe they trust Chip Lindsey more in the press box to dissect the defense than Herb Hand, the offensive line coach.
Right.
And the reason why Herb Hand was in the press box from the start anyway is because at Tulsa, long ago, more than a decade ago, Mr. Gus Malzahn and Herb Hand had this relationship where Herb was in the press box kind of feeding him things of what he was seeing, and Gus was calling the plays from the sideline. But this is different because you have three voices instead of two, and now I think they finally wised up, and they need to, one, put Herb Hand on the sideline because he's got to be in the face of his offensive linemen because they are struggling mightily. Also, I think it takes a voice out of the headsets for them while they're trying to figure out plays. You do not need 3 people talking on the headsets trying to figure out plays.
Well, the other interesting aspect of this, Jarrett Stidham's not particularly playing well, and he's holding on to the ball a long time now. You know, one of the reasons that Chip said he was going to be down there was to be able to talk to Jarrett and kind of interact with him and help him, because he hasn't played in a long time. Now you take that away, who do you think is going to be kind of? Is Gus going to be the one talking to the quarterbacks then? People are going to love that.
Yeah, I mean, Gus is going to be the guy who's talking to the quarterbacks. So definitely. I mean, he's going to be the one. It's not going to be, they'll put a phone on the sideline. So Jarrett will talk to Chip Lindsey, I'm sure, over the phone. But I guarantee you Gus is going to be talking to him quite a bit. Fans aren't going to like that. But
they're going to flip out.
I know, but that's just how it is. Listen, every head coach is involved in everything. The problem is with that idea here at Auburn is that Gus Malzahn is not involved with the defense. Even if he says that, I'm talking to Kevin and everything. Well, what Kevin's doing is, hey, I got it. We're good. He's not like going, hey, Kevin, I think you got to do a fire blitz here. I doubt that's happening. He is staying out of the room. He's barely ever in that meeting room anyway. He is an offensive coach by trade, always will be. And this idea that he is, poking his head in for everything as a head coach, CEO, it's not necessarily happening. If you want more details on what exactly is going on with the offense and the play calling, leading all the way back from last season to now, and why things are probably struggling the way they are, I have a column up. It's called Brandon's 2 Bits. It's for our subscribers only. Go get a 7-day free trial. Go read it for free. I give you intel on what's happening, who's calling the plays, what is actually happening, what needs to change, and what was happening last season leading into this season that probably further explains why they're doing so badly on offense, even though they've got better talent. So, something to read. I would chew on that a little bit going into this Mercer game and going into the SEC game more than anything.
I saw another person call us negative Nancy's. You should see the commenters. We are being very positive. There is so many replacements that have been proposed this week for Gus. I mean, the list is very long.
Right.
We're not doing that.
So, but having said that, this is an Auburn team that should be 5-1 heading into the LSU game. They should win the next 4 games going into the LSU game. If Gus Malzahn and Auburn were to stumble at some point and lose to Mizzou or Mississippi State, or goodness forbid, Ole Miss, which is a terrible team,
right,
the pitchforks will come out certainly more. But this team should be 5-1, and during that stretch, you should see improvement from the offense. But what it does is it just gets Auburn to where everybody expected them to be. And then they've got to go trying to exceed expectations again by going to LSU on the road, a place they haven't won in 18 years. And consider this. The reason why fans are upset is because Auburn is 0-5 against top 10 teams since 2015. They've only scored 4 touchdowns in those 5 games Auburn has. They've been outgained by more than 200 yards in those 5 games. So what you're going to face going to LSU most likely is an LSU team in the top 10 on the road, and Auburn's 0-5 against those type of teams. So if they go to LSU, Auburn will be an underdog probably, and it'll be quote-unquote expected, but fans are sick of that. Fans want to see Auburn contending and beating top 10, top 15 programs, and that hasn't happened since 2014 really. So you've got to not only be 5-1 going to LSU, but they got to win a game that really puts Auburn like in a spot where everybody goes, oh, that is a legitimate top 10 team, instead of just relying on, well, Auburn looks good against everybody else, but then when they play top 10 teams, they lose. They can't do that.
Well, the only win that's going to buy Gus some time till the end of the season is LSU. I mean, he can't lose basically until Alabama. Really, I don't think he could afford a loss to Georgia or LSU at this point. Just based on kind of the performance, the way they lost at Clemson was more troubling than the loss to Clemson. I mean, 117 yards again at a big stage where you can't score a touchdown in the red zone. You're in there twice. And these are all problems going back 2 years now. I mean, you can't. 2015, you had the same issues, and now there's just kind of some different things propping up here and there, but it's kind of the same play calls. It looks like same kind of problems. You can't have those for 2 years and say you're going to make changes, and then the changes don't lead to anything, because then you have to make the ultimate change, right?
Yeah, and that's all in my column. It just doesn't. I'm not going to give it away here, but there's a reason why a lot of things look the same. What's also interesting is, they're not going hurry up, no huddle a lot.
That's a slow offensive team right now.
And I think they're going to look at that this week. Yeah. Based off what I'm hearing, maybe you'll see more of that in the future. I think that they're going to throw out the bathwater and see if the baby can walk out of the tub. I don't know if that's not the saying. So I think they're going to try and do some different things and maybe just get back to.
Well, the problem is they could do do the no huddle or the fast tempo against and have a good tempo against bad teams. Is when they get in those bigger games and when the things get stressful, that they sort of go away from a lot of that stuff. And since they haven't figured out their personnel with wide receivers and stuff, it's kind of really hard to do that, don't you think?
Yeah.
When they don't have a receiver that they trust and they're rotating him so much that it's really hard to kind of pick up your tempo. You got to be able to trust guys. It doesn't seem like they're ready to do that. And then you got the running back situation on top of it with the health of those guys, and it's like, are those guys healthy enough to sustain, a 10-play drive and be on there all the time? Kerryon Johnson looked good, I guess, at Sunday's practice, or better, was doing more. His status is up in the air this weekend, and Petway, they expect him to play, but that's sort of a vague answer. And with his injury, I don't know why you test him against Mercer. He has nothing to prove.
Yeah, I don't know why you would play Kerryon Johnson or Cam Petway in this game against Mercer. Rest them up, let them get healed up a little bit more before you go in the Mizzou game. And Gus Malzahn said on the radio before the Clemson game that they want to get Kerryon Johnson ready for the SEC run. So why do you need him against an FCS opponent when you've got Cam Martin and Malik Miller there who need some experience anyway? And as I said, they need to build depth there. So that was kind of baffling to me. Defensively, you don't have to say much about them because they're dominating people. The only negative for them really is what Kevin Steele said. As a defense, you don't allow an offense to score on the final possession of a first half and then the first possession of the second half, and that's what happened this past weekend. Other than that, they dominated them, so you can't really say much. They did their job. They did what they had to do. They gave Auburn's offense more than enough to win the game.
When you're on the road and you give up 2 touchdowns, you should be able to win that game.
You should win it.
There are only 2 touchdowns, and your offense had been in the red zone the first two possessions of the game, so, you should be able to score. And Gus isn't going to offer much insight into the defensive performance. He's just, all he really said was, look, we have a great defense. Everybody could see that. They do have a great defense, but you're wasting it at this point. Both these Clemson games should have been wins the last 2 years.
Yep, and instead they're losses. So, folks, we'll take some questions now. If you have any questions, I know some of you might have some questions for us, so shoot them our way. We will try our best to answer them at this moment as we move forward. Questions. Lots of comments. Not seeing questions. What will it take for Gus is to get off his habit of not making adjustments? I think that that is a big issue. I wrote about that today. You can read more about it. I think in the end, if Chip Lindsey's going to actually take full control, then it needs to be Chip Lindsey making the adjustments and not Gus Malzahn.
And they have to be more confident in their personnel, too. It seems and I don't know if it's a Chip thing or a Gus thing, but they have to be they have to figure some things out. Receiver-wise, they have to kind of get some guys involved, give them time with Jarrett to kind of get in a groove. It just Ryan Davis is the only guy, and he wasn't getting much yardage on those 8 catches, so they need to kind of figure some things out. And I think running back-wise, too, you're not seeing them throw to him very much. Those are things they talked about before the season. Don't feel comfortable, it doesn't look like, with some of the things that they had talked about doing but haven't shown up on the field yet.
Someone asked, what do we think of PJ Fleck? I have no opinion of him. I don't follow him, and
Roll
I don't
vote.
know. Just let me know when if there's a coaching change. I'll let you know what I think of candidates. But it's the third week of the season. Why does Malzahn never have the backup running backs ready? I think they're ready. It's just that they're not utilizing them the way they should, and they should have utilized Cam Martin against Clemson, and it was baffling that they did not use him in the run game. Cameron Petway was obviously slowed a little bit by the heel injury. They say he was okay, but you could tell when he planted his foot in the ground, he didn't quite have that second step.
Look, 75% is okay. He wasn't trying to get off the field. He wasn't, in an obvious amount of pain. He was still playing through it. But 100% Cam Martin, at least, you know, I don't know, could he give you something? I don't know why you don't try it. They just kept saying, well, we were worried it wouldn't work. But I mean, at the point where you were only averaging 2.8 yards per carry, there's got to be something better, right? You weren't averaging 9 yards a carry.
And the coaches said that the reason why Cam Martin didn't carry the ball is because they thought the linebackers were too big.
I mean,
don't know what that is.
What if Cam can get away from the linebackers? I mean, I don't understand why you don't.
I don't either. I thought it's. There's a lack of imagination and creativity right now with this offense, which confuses me because that's what Gus Malzahn's done in the past. And it seems like over the last 3 years, he's gone into this shell where he's afraid to run special things and to run different formations and different movements. He's gotten very conservative, and I don't understand it. And this offense is the same as it was last season, play-wise. Any other questions? What coupon codes do I have for 24/7 Sports? No coupon codes, but if you just go there and sign up, there's a 7-day free trial, so you can go read it for free.
You can click that as an option when you sign up.
Yeah, so 7-day free trial if you want to go try it. Just go there and sign up. 7-day free trial. You'll see it at auburn.247sports.com. It's a lengthy column. I don't even know how long it was, but I kept writing for like an hour and a half.
There's probably, I would say there's more than 2 bits.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get technical, but it's a lot of bits.
A lot of bits.
A lot of bits.
Can the O-line improve? Yes.
I mean, they can't really get worse. If they did, I think probably Herb Hand's going to be working on his chopped resume.
Yeah, chopped resume, yeah. Food Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to improve. They should improve, especially Prince Tega. He's got a lot of talent. It's up to the coaching. There should be more talk about Malik Miller than Cam Martin. Hey, listen, I've been a big Cam Martin guy, Malik Miller guy. I've been a big Malik Miller guy since the beginning, since last season, and I agree with that. Levine asks, why isn't Marquise McClain getting playing time?
That's a good question.
It's a good question, but if you go back to the spring, you look, he was like a 13 receiver too.
But what's interesting about him is they keep talking about his size. He's like a linebacker, and one of the problems receivers are having, the lack of separation. You think a guy his size might be able to get somebody off of him, but
that's another problem receivers are having. They can't beat man-to-man coverage, press coverage at the line of scrimmage, and that's why Chip Lindsey said you didn't see a lot of slants in that second half, because that would have helped Jarrett Stidham in trying to get the ball out quickly, and the receivers just aren't doing their job right there. And Cody Burns has got to figure it out. It all ends with the coaches. The talent's there. Don't you agree? The talent's there.
Yeah, the talent's there. I mean, what else do they need? What other pieces are they missing talent-wise? They got the quarterback. That's what they said was their Achilles heel last year. They weren't saying before the season, look, we needed 3 more receivers. They said they needed quarterback depth. They have quarterback depth, and they're not doing anything with it.
Someone asked if Auburn loses to Mississippi State, does Gus Malzahn get fired that week? I don't think they fire Gus Malzahn no matter what happens this season until after the season.
I think unless the rails fall off and they were to lose like 3 in a row or something like that, like real early here, that you could see it. But one loss, I don't think will push them over the edge.
I don't know. They'd have to like lose out and like lose 5 straight or something. I don't see. Jay Jacobs has never fired a coach in season.
No.
So I don't see why you would do that with football.
Although you lose to Mercer now.
Yeah, now like 2 years ago, lose to Jacksonville State, that's a different deal. We're talking about like extreme circumstances. So there's a long way to go. Like I said, I still think this team's probably going to win 9 games just based solely on the freaking defense being so good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They'll have a decision to make if they lose 9 and it's Georgia and Alabama. That's the thing.
That is an issue.
That's the issue.
A lot of just comments, people sharing what they believe should happen. Why did we only throw to Nate Craig Myers one time and not see him again?
We talked about this Sunday night. You guys missed it. Anytime Jarrett Stidham was on the ground, they were targeting Nate Craig Myers, apparently, or at least a handful of those times. And that's honest to God the answer that we got. So Nate Craig wasn't targeted once. He was targeted multiple times. They just didn't throw the ball.
Per Chip Lindsey.
Per Chip Lindsey.
Whatever that means. But that's what was said. We just share it.
That's literally, and it's ridiculous, but that's really what the answer is. I've never heard that. Have you ever heard that before? That they were targeted on sacks? No. Targeted on sacks. That doesn't make any sense to me.
One person said this team looks like Chiswick's team in 2012. No, it doesn't. That team quit on Gene Chiswick. They wanted to lose games.
Yeah.
This
defense in particular wants to be great.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Say all you want about Gus Malzahn. No team has ever quit under him in his career. What team have you? What team?
No, I was saying yet. So I mean, there's still time. There's still time. Gracious. Remember, all their goals are in front of them.
They are.
They are
technically. So I don't know what that question was, Clay. Yeah. Well, I talked about that. They should have done some different things with the offensive line. Chip a D in, do something against Clemson. James says the tight end was free several times. Yes, Gus said that today. In fact, going back to the play I keep harping on.
Oh, no.
that play inside the 10-yard line where Cameron Petway came in motion to the left.
Was Cam Petway open on that
Cam
play?
Petway was wide open, but I also found this out today. The tight end was wide open on that, and the play was meant for the tight end at first. And Stidham didn't see two wide open receivers on that, and he took off scrambling instead. That is something that's got to be coached up.
Coach him up.
Will the defense begin to lose hope if the offense continues to struggle? That's a good question. We're all human, you know.
Yeah. And the defense spoke to that. Trey Williams, Trey Matthews, all kind of had strong words about, no, they're not placing blame on anybody, and they're staying together, and the locker room's still really good. I think that right now, look, if you respond and you go 5-1, you got LSU, you're in a good position. They didn't fall very far in the rankings. They're definitely in the playoff picture as far as they're not a team outside looking in. They've got it. If they control their own destiny, they can win. And so this defense is going to stay together, I think, and keep this team together for now. I mean, if things go really bad, you never know. But there's no reason to panic, I don't think, inside that locker room just yet. Because this defense thinks they are great, I think.
Yeah. Someone mentioned Al Borges being a head coach. No, not happening. If you want an idea of what Al Borges does on game days, at least, he was sitting on a bench outside the locker room while the coaches and players were getting ready for about 30 minutes, just sitting there. So.
And Chip Lindsey himself said he doesn't.
Kevin says he doesn't like you.
Why?
He doesn't like you.
It's not nice.
Is the lack of open receivers more about the offensive line, the receivers, or the Stidham? All the above, but probably mostly the receivers, because the receivers got to get open. I mean, there were short and intermediate routes they ran, and they weren't getting open.
Yeah.
And as Chip Lindsey said, they weren't beating their man on some of these slants they were trying to run out of the halftime. So Scott says Al Borges greater than Gus. Well, remember, Al Borges got fired at Auburn as an assistant. I'm seeing a player on a scooter with a injured left leg. Be right back.
Hello, everybody.
Never mind.
That's Whitlow.
It's Jatavius Whitlow, who's already injured.
Yeah, who's already injured.
Never know what you're going to see outside the athletic
Gus should
complex.
sell food at the concession stand. I don't think you do
I
that.
I hear they got great funnel cakes.
They do have good funnel cakes. Two more questions.
Guys, listen, we like to have fun.
I agree with Kevin. That's also not very nice.
Football's supposed to be fun. Sports are fun. We're trying to have fun. If things are bad, we try to have fun with it. Unless, there's serious things involving lives. That's news. But this is football. And these people get paid a lot of money to coach a sport.
Is Cody the right coach for the wide receivers? I don't think he's proved that yet.
He's got a lot to prove. A lot to prove. A lot. Jarrett's scared to throw the ball when the receivers are open. I think he's a little timid, yeah. I do think that. The coaches have kind of hinted toward that. There's something there.
I don't know if scared's the right word, though.
Timid.
I just think he doesn't know what to do.
He's timid.
Yeah.
He just goes, okay, run. Because he knows he can pick some yards up maybe with his feet, unless you're playing Clemson and they sack you.
Hire Mike Leach. You're not the only person to make that suggestion.
Yeah, we heard that from someone else. I keep getting YouTube links from Mike Leach press conferences from someone going, wouldn't this be great? Here's the thing about Mike Leach. We've seen the Mike Leach offense in the SEC before. It was called Hal Mummy as head coach at Kentucky back in the late 90s. And they upset a team or two, but it wasn't like they were winning SEC titles. That type of offense leaves you so open to being blown out and tiring your defense. It would not be a good fit in the SEC at all. Will Kevin Steele make a good head coach? I don't know. I don't know if he wants to be a head coach, to be honest. Last time he was head coach at Baylor, he got fired. I don't think he wants to be a head coach. I think he just wants to be a defensive coordinator. I think he knows his niche. He knows what he's really good at, and he's really good at coaching defense. I mean, Kevin Steele's hitting his stride here. He's kind of found a second life as a coach after 30-plus years, you know? He's doing very well for himself, and I think he knows that. He feels it, and, you know, he's not going to coach forever, and he's really doing a good job right now, and I don't think he would want to put that burden on himself. That's just, I'm speaking for him, but just based off talking to him, he sounds like a guy that just doesn't want to have to deal with that stress again in his life.
I think that's good.
All right, guys.
As they keep cleaning the patio behind us.
Yeah, it's probably getting it is getting louder. So we're going to go ahead and end this. We really appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us after today's press conference. A lot of coverage already at auburnundercover.com. Much more coming. I've got a column up again, kind of breaking down what's actually going on behind the scenes, stuff that's not being talked about in there, but things I've talked to several sources about. So go check that out. Go sign up for a subscription to read it. Haven't heard anything new on a new softball coach. I don't cover softball. Ask Philip Marshall on our message board about it, and he might have an answer for you. So anyway, that'll do it for us. auburnundercover.com, auburn.247sports.com. We'll see you Wednesday.